August 3rd, just after 9 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. Got some cows a little vocal over here. I don't have any children. But for you people out there in the world, in the United States of America, that have children, when they go off to school, you want to be able to trust the teachers, correct? You want to be able to trust the teachers, correct? You want to be able to trust the bus drivers, correct? So we have a system to where the teachers get their teaching degrees and they meet certain expectations and they're hired. Same goes with a principal. The same goes with a bus driver. I mean, we wouldn't want to hire a person with a rap sheet as a bus driver, would we? We wouldn't want to hire a person that had been found guilty of child molestation as a bus driver, would we? So we trust. You have to trust people. You know, the system, you know, the way it's set up. And we would expect any school teacher or any principal or any bus driver that gets out of line, they start acting fanatical, their behavior is very questionable, we would remove them from their positions, wouldn't we? If a teacher was caught abusing a child, we would remove them, wouldn't we? Well, you know, the president of this country, I mean, they're sort of like a teacher, aren't they? I mean, we need to be able to trust them. Now, in your personal experiences in life, if you ran into somebody and you became acquainted with them, and then you sort of stayed sort of friends with them, maybe not super close, and then all of a sudden they have a whole different outlook on a whole lot of different things. And they've not really had anything personal in their life that would change this. It's happened to them. Well, what would you think of that person? Would they still be your friend necessarily? Would you trust them? If you went to buy a car at a car dealer and you went in and you talked to the salesman and they told you X, Y, and Z, and you went back 4 months later, let's say you made up your mind and you went back to the same dealer, and now they tell you a whole lot of bunch of different shit, altogether different than they told you before, what would you think about that dealer? Would you want to trust them? Or would you be scratching your head like, what's going on here? He told me before X, Y, and Z, and now he's telling me something altogether different. Maybe he told you you could get, I don't know, this kind of financing, or the car had this kind of warranty. You know what I mean? He told you some stuff, and then you went back 4 months later, oh no, it's this way. And he didn't tell you that it had changed. It wasn't a company policy change. So there was really no good reason for him to tell you what he told you, other than that's what he told you, a dealer. So you probably wouldn't trust that person too much, would you? You'd be like, you might go to a different dealership or find a different salesman at that dealer, wouldn't you? That's what common sense tells me. So now we've got this Kamala Harris. And she hasn't come out and publicly disclosed any of her positions personally. So she's using the news media and maybe a few people on her staff supposedly to clarify or state her positions on certain issues. That's far different than what she's said in the past. And this stuff is all on tape. You know? Ain't that nice? I mean, we didn't really have this 30 and 40 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So you can be about anywhere in the, you know, moving around in life, and you can say or do something, and it could be captured. 30 and 40 years ago, the chances are it was going to happen. Maybe somebody would overhear you say something, and it would get printed in a newspaper. It would never show up on the internet. We didn't even really have internet back then. Or it may show up, maybe some journalist tied with a TV station, you could hear it on there. But, you know, you see what's going on today. So we've not heard anything from this person. She was never vetted as a candidate. You know, that's what a primary's for, to vet a person. So you would think, what would common sense tell you if a nomination to be president of a major party fell into your lap? Wouldn't you be wanting to be in high gear to let people get to know you? State your positions. You should be willing to go to just all the news networks. I mean, you are who you are. And you want people to vote for you for face value, right? But that's not what she's doing. So it's hideous. You know, this is sort of a hideous way that she's managed this campaign. Now remember, this is her campaign now. She's calling all the shots. Or you would think that's what would be going on, right? I mean, Trump's calling all his shots. So, you know, this is sort of hideous what's going on, you know, and you got this media out here just saying whatever, but we haven't heard anything from the actual candidate. And then when you look at how she's changed positions, remember what I said earlier in this video? Well, would you trust a person like that? You know, if you got a good reason for changing your positions, well, go to a microphone and explain it. People still may not believe you, but at least explain it. There may be a good reason. But there probably isn't a good reason, or she would have already done that. This may be our last presidential election in the 50 United States. You heard that from the old sharpshooter. This could be it. Depending on what happens, this could be the last election of the 50 United States. That's fact. This has been hinted at by a few other people. I see them on TV. I would venture to say, if there's any hanky-panky in this election, this will be the last election of the 50 states in the United States. There will not be a United States of America. Okay? That's almost a certainty. Because the people already have lost confidence in their government. And when your population inside a country loses confidence in its government, you know what that means, right? When it gets to a certain point, there's a breaking point. Something will happen. I've already talked to a couple of friends of mine. They agree with me. You know, some of them are real studious studiers of history. Okay? We've seen, you know, the Roman Empire, you know, fall of the Roman Empire. It happened. It can happen again. I don't believe there's some people out there that give this any thought. You're running to be the President of the United States. And the way this is being handled, dealt with, presented to the people. We just had an election in this county for tax assessor. Well, there was more discipline in those candidates and behavior than what we're seeing from Kamala Harris. A lonely little tax assessor of a county with about, I don't know, 5,000 people maybe, if that. So we're at this day of age, and I'm going to tell you this right now. You know, the old sharpshooter don't claim to be the smartest person in the world. If this country breaks apart, here's what we can blame it on. The press and social media and the internet. That's what we can blame it on. And the managers of some of these social media outlets. And the managers of some of these press outlets. We can blame it on them. Why would we let a TV channel, why would any sponsors want to give them money to advertise their products is beyond me. And I'm going to tell you something else too. Elon Musk is a brilliant man. He's brilliant. Elon Musk sees what I see. Okay? He's rich. He's also brilliant. And he sees exactly what I'm talking about in this video. We have marginalized the office of president and the way the job is gotten. The press has marginalized this. The world is watching. And you know what they're thinking? You know what Russia and China are thinking? If this country breaks apart, what would that mean to countries like China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran? What would it mean? Think about that. You couldn't be a general officer in our United States military acting like Kamala Harris. You couldn't be one. I don't believe. I served in the military. You couldn't be one. You just wouldn't. You would never be a general. Period. Okay. You can't talk in circles, and you can't let shit be leaked out. You got to get out there, and it has to come from you. I mean, is this how, if you win this office, Kamala, is this how you're going to run your presidency? We'll just get what you're thinking from the news, from leaked sources. We won't ever hear from you, will we? You'll be just like JB. You will give few, if any, press conferences. You won't answer any questions. You'll be another hiding Biden. He taught you well, didn't he? So you might get elected. But you know what? I don't believe you'll be president of all 50 states. I don't believe the 50 states will be part of this union for your whole term. That's just how I feel about it. I mean, you're a pretender. You're this race this day and this race this other year. If you're a worthy individual, it shouldn't matter what gender you are. It shouldn't matter what race you are. When Ben Carson comes on the Fox News and talks, I don't see a black man. You know what I see? I see a very intelligent person who happens to be a brain surgeon. That's what I see. And I'm a white person, but that's what I see. Byron Donalds is a representative in Florida. When I hear him talk, I don't see a black man. I see a man who talks who makes a lot of sense. That's what I see. He don't have to tell me he's black. He could be, he wouldn't even have to show his picture on TV. I could listen to Ben Carson talk all day. I wouldn't have to see his picture. I wouldn't even have to hear his accent. They could do a voice translation where I wouldn't even know who it is. They could put it in a woman's voice and I would still listen to him because of how he presents himself, the points he makes, and the sense he makes. There's no sense with you. You have been vice president for 3.5 years and you have not showed any presidential action. Nothing. Zero. You've had plenty of opportunities. You haven't even talked to the governor of Texas. That right there disqualifies you. That disqualifies you because Joe Biden picked you to be the border something, okay? We seen it in the damn meeting and you even thanked him. And Texas was struggling the most with the border crisis and you never reached out to him. There's black people lives in Texas. There's probably some Indians lives in Texas, but evidently you don't give a rat's ass. You know, you steamed your way to that Andrews Joint Air Force Base to see those hostages arrive, didn't you? I'm glad those hostages got their freedom back. I am really glad. I got a pretty good feeling on how they felt when they stepped down off of those steps onto the U.S. soil. I got a pretty good idea Because I went to a war zone, and when I come back, yeah, there's a feeling when you put your feet back down on U.S. soil after experiencing what I experienced. But this Georgia college student, and this 12-year-old in Houston, that's just two, by the way, they lost their freedom forever. Unlike these hostages. A 12-year-old and a 21-year-old college student, they lost their freedom forever. Well, you went to the Andrews Air Force Base tarmac to meet these people. Did you go to see the families of the 12-year-old, this 21-year-old college student? Oh, the hostages were being held by Russia. So who held Laken Riley and this 12-year-old girl hostage? Who held them? It was you, Kamala. You held them hostage. You seen to it their freedom was taken away forever. And that's why you couldn't go see these families and call them and console them. That's what a president, a future president, would have done. There's still a lot of people in this country that's got a lot of common sense. And I do think they're a good judge of character. And they base their voting decision not on skin color, not on gender. They base it on what the person has done and what the person says they're going to do. And how much sense do they make presenting the data? Everybody in this country has to eat. Everybody. The young generations, the middle-aged, the older. Being able to eat in this country has got a lot harder since you became vice president. And I haven't heard you say anything about how you plan to get food cheaper. You know, a lot of prices in this country, you know, Kamala, I'll give you a little eco lesson here right quick. I don't have a jurisprudence degree. I don't have any damn degree but a high school diploma. A lot of what drives prices in this country is, guess what? Energy prices. High gas, high diesel equals what? Starts a domino effect. When Donald Trump was running, started running in 2015, got elected. If somebody would have told me that I could go down the road here 10 miles and buy damn regular unleaded gas for $1.82 a gallon, I would have told them they were so full of shit they didn't know what they were talking about. But you know what happened under Trump? That's exactly what happened. And with that cheap fuel, you know what that meant, right? That meant these goods, the fuel wasn't added to transportation costs of vehicles, food, the whole 9 yards. You can never have a good economy in this damn country with high fuel prices and mismanaging our own energy resources. The world will take advantage. Russia's loving this. They love JB. Iran's loving him. So just remember what I said. This may be the last election in this country where we are 50 United States. That's going to conclude the video.